Good evening and salutations, my Days of Alive fans. Um, First of all, I want to thank everyone for the birthday wishes. I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate people that came on the live stream or watched it afterwards. I had a lot of fun, even though I was under the weather. But I am feeling a lot better now. Um, you know, this, I guess some people call it being a critic or whatever. What I do when it comes towards these episodes that I watch, um, it really determines my energy. Okay, and if the episode's good, I'm bouncing off the walls. Okay, the episode is boring, then I'm just like, well, this sucks because this is the material that I'm given. Literally, it's literally the material I'm given. But I gotta sit there and say, I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode. What really sucks is that GH is supposed to be my favorite, and yet I don't even, the less I speak about that, the better. Okay. And my energy in the review pretty much kind of reflects that. Now, going into this episode, um, Stefan definitely seems like he's going to be a very interesting character. I mean, the minute that he woke up and Rolf was like, no, 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 you got to sit back down. You're not fully healed yet. He was like, no, you don't tell me what to do. I'm Stefan DeMero. I tell you what to do. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be in for a treat. I'm gonna be in for a treat. If that's gonna be this man's energy, I'm gonna be in for a treat. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I thought that EJ was very demanding and entitled, but this guy, okay, all right, they did a promo with EJ. I mean, well, the actor that plays EJ and Jake or whatever. And, Jake was, I mean, well, I can't remember his name, but he was saying that, Jake was, and, was a character that everyone could relate to, the everyday guy. As in, Stefan was the guy who can go toe to toe with EJ. And, the actor that played EJ was like, I don't know about that. But then just seeing how he wakes up and he's just like, no, you work for me. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to like this guy. I'm gonna like this guy. So, after Rob tells him about everything, like, you've been shot, and automatically he remembers Gabby. He remembers Gabby. He's like, I got to get out of here. He's like, no, let me sedate you. He's like, what did I just say? So he pretty much like, yeah, I want some clothes. I want the keys to your car, and I went like 5 minutes ago, pretty much. Now, while Shen is doing his best to try to have Gabby get over Stefan by the amount of, we'll just sit there and say, mattress tag that they were playing, while talking about, well, Stefan and Ava. Ava calls Gabby, was like, yo, listen, you need to come over here, you need to come over here now. And although Shen was like, no, you don't have to do anything for her, you're in the control of the situation. Gabby's like, I want to make sure that things don't, you know, get out of hand. And, speaking of both the Maros, like EJ and Ava, I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed this scene. This scene was funny as hell. Because EJ was like, so you want to sit there and tell me what you're doing with my son? Why are you trying to seduce my son or whatever? He's like, yo, you're literally, I mean, he's literally half your age. He can practically be your son. And Ava did not like that and smacked the hell out of him. Ava don't play. Okay, and when she was done with that, she decided to call up Gabby, go get the most expensive bottle of um, champagne or wine or whatever, or start telling her, "Oh, cook the lobster, this, that, and the third," and all the. When EJ was like, "Yo, that's literally our most expensive bottle," and they was like, "Well, we're family." He's like, "Oh, you think you're just gonna sit there and just tell me what to do with my money, or whatever?" He's like, "Our money, right? Because my last name is Demera, right?" And she takes, I guess, some silverware, like cups and stuff like that. And he's just like, "Oh, you gotta be careful. Those are family heirlooms. So you can't just. You gotta be a little kind of delicate with that." Ava dropped one on the ground, and she was like, "Oops." The look on EJ's face, I swear he wanted to take Ava by her neck and just toss her out the damn window, or out the, whatever, out the house. He was so angry. He was so angry. Um, and eventually Gabby did get there, and pretty much Ava was like, "Well, since it's Demera business, you're not privy to this conversation, so you need to sit there and kick rocks." And EJ's like, "Are you just gonna sit there and tell me what to do in my house?" Like, he was livid, but eventually he left. They get to talking, and Gabby's all like, "Oh, I can see the sexual tension that's going on between you two. Like, what's up with that?" And of course, she starts talking about Stefan and everything like that, which is, I mean, it's obviously telling, but it's I actually tell you the truth, I think it does make sense since Jake died and Jake, Stefan, I think they might actually died around the same time span, as far as like the month and the day and everything like that. So of course she's gonna be thinking about him a lot. Um, I guess all the mattress tag in the world that Shin Smith did trying to play with her was not gonna get Stefan out of her system. But she gets to talking about memory lane and everything like that. Meanwhile, Stefan is got to Demara's place. He is breathing heavy. I honestly tell you the truth, I thought he was gonna pass out when he was talking to Rock a couple of times because he kept grabbing his chest and everything like that. And of course, he doesn't know that the heart isn't his, it's his twin brother, but I guess eventually they'll get into that. They show some flashbacks. So apparently, um, I don't know why, but I can't think of his name just in the moment. He did play Stefan, like the same actor. So he went from Stefan, Jake, and and then back to Stefan. It's amazing because there was a lot of people that really wanted Stefan and they got Jake, and a lot of people weren't happy. And I guess like 2 7 years later, they decided to correct it. So um, yeah. So John and Marlena are trying to have date night, and of course, Paulina comes in there, tries to convince both of them to get Abe on board as far as being governor. But they both kind of sit there and tell him like, "Yo, listen, you gotta sit there and decide this for himself." Dragging him away for months and stuff like that, away from all his friends and everything like that, the family that he's practically built here. Like, I always consider um, friends to be family. His community and everything like that is going to be gone for a while. And I actually tell Chief Marlena, when it really comes down to it, she's like, "Yo, listen, you got to sit there and you got to talk to him, and not try to convince other people to convince him to, be governor. Just sit down and just like have a talk." And after a while, she finally got it. Meanwhile, Steve is just adamant with Stephanie, as far as Stephanie being a company, like going with her to this meeting. And let's just sit there and think about this for a minute. There was a part that even Kayla was like, with Orpheus running around, this may not be a bad idea. She talks about how she's done that before. She's met clients that she didn't know their name, mysterious and everything like that. And I'm looking at this whole thing, I'm like, let me get this straight. It is literally the middle of the night. You're gonna meet someone you don't know because I mean, I get it's a job and everything like that, but I'm like, you don't like for safety reasons. It's just so not a good idea. I'm like, girl, do you want to be on the back of a milk carton? I don't know if they still do that, but I'm like, if they do, you want to be on the back of a milk carton? You're gonna meet some total stranger that you don't know at night at some office by yourself? Like, seriously. And I get that she's all like, she doesn't want to be babied, and Steve is being overprotective and everything like that. But I'm like, even if the looming threat of Orpheus wasn't around, it's still just a bad idea. And I'm surprised that Cable wasn't more like, maybe you should probably have him go with you, especially considering the fact that there's a killer running around that just killed Abby. You would both sit there and think like, I mean, both of them, like that alone. Let's just take Orpheus out the equation. They both should have said something about that, but for some odd reason, it was like, no, it was Orpheus. It's Orpheus. It has to be Orpheus. And eventually, um, John, John and Steve wind up, because Steve comes back upstairs and he brings Marlena and John there. And Steve was like, "All right, fine. I'm just gonna let y'all do what y'all going. I'm gonna let you do what you're gonna do, and just be careful." And of course, they both decide to follow her. So when John and Steve get there, Stephanie goes in there first, and long story short, is Paulina. That's the mystery client. Meanwhile, you got Orpheus that just decided to knock on the door and pay Kayla and apparently Marlena now a visit. So I'm like, I mean, the looming threat of Orpheus is real, but so is that damn killer that hasn't been found yet. I really do feel like that's about it for the most part. At least the most pertinent information. But I gotta sit there and say, I really enjoyed it. GH needs to pick up the pace. They need to do something because what they're doing is not working. And again, you know, before I started doing this whole review thing and just was watching G, just somebody would have told me, there'll be a day when you actually like an episode of Days of Our Lives before you like GH. I'll be like, but, you know, here we are. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe, and I will see everyone in the next video.